Apple might have just locked in the most important hardware decisions for the first ever foldable iPhone, and the biggest surprise isn't the phone itself, but who's helping Apple build it. Before we jump in, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. It really helps me keep bringing you more tech breakdowns like this one. Because according to a reliable new leak, the foldable iPhone's display supplier has been finalized, and it's Samsung. Yes, Apple's biggest rival is about to provide the most crucial component of one of Apple's most hyped products. And that's where things get interesting. Apple is reportedly preparing to launch the foldable iPhone in 2026, likely right next to the iPhone 18. With a brand new product category on the way, this is the phase where everything behind the scenes has to be locked in. So the fact that major decisions are already in place tells us something important. Apple is officially past the experimental stage. This device is real, it's moving forward, and the company is confident enough to start finalizing suppliers. The report says Samsung will be the exclusive supplier of the foldable display panel. Not LG, not BOE, only Samsung. And honestly, this makes perfect sense. Samsung has a massive lead in foldable display tech. They've been refining it through multiple generations of the Galaxy Z Fold and Flip. If Apple wants a display with the fewest compromises, Samsung is the safest bet. But exclusivity also means Apple is putting all its trust in one company to deliver the single most important part of the device. That alone signals how high Apple's standards are for this project. Assembly, as expected, goes to Foxconn. But there's still a big question. Where will this foldable iPhone actually be built? Will Apple stick to China because of the complexity of the hinge and display integration, or push ahead with its shift toward India? The leak doesn't commit either way, and that uncertainty suggests the engineering process still has moving parts. Now, here's where the story gets a little messy. Apple's biggest goal, the reason it sat out the foldable race for so long, was to eliminate the crease. That tiny but very visible line you see every time you open a Galaxy Z Fold, Apple does not want that. Multiple reports say the hinge Apple is developing is the most advanced in the entire industry. But according to this new leak, it's not finished. In fact, it's still being designed. And that raises the possibility that Apple might have to accept a compromise, a slightly visible crease. Not the nightmare crease we've seen in early foldables, but maybe not the perfectly smooth panel Apple initially wanted. If that's true, it tells us two things. First, getting rid of a crease entirely is still one of the hardest engineering challenges in consumer tech. Second, Apple is clearly pushing the limits hard enough that even it may have to settle. Battery suppliers also haven't been locked down, but that's less dramatic. Apple is known for finalizing batteries later in the process, and they usually get the efficiency and longevity they want. So that part isn't a red flag, just part of the usual timeline. But let's zoom out for a second. Once this phone launches, every major smartphone maker will officially be in the foldable market. And for Apple's audience, a group that's been waiting years for something radically new, this is going to feel like a fresh chapter. High demand seems almost guaranteed. Think back to the iPhone 17 Pro, which exploded in popularity because it finally broke the monotony after years of small upgrades. A foldable iPhone is an even bigger leap. However, the hype is a double-edged sword. Apple fans are excited, competitors are watching closely, and critics are already sharpening their knives. If there's a crease, it'll be magnified. If the hinge feels off, it'll trend on social media. If durability isn't near perfect, the comparisons to Samsung's early foldables will be instant. Still, even with all those risks, it feels like the right time. Foldables have matured, the market has stabilized, and Apple knows that entering now, not too early, not too late, gives it room to define what a premium foldable should actually be. Even if the crease isn't fully invisible, the company can still set a new benchmark for build quality, software polish, and ecosystem integration. My guess is the foldable iPhone will sell incredibly well, break a few expectations, disappoint a few critics, and absolutely dominate online conversation for months. It won't be perfect, but it doesn't have to be. For Apple, this is more than a new device. It's an entirely new chapter in the iPhone lineup. And honestly, after watching every other manufacturer experiment for years, it feels like it's finally Apple's turn to shake things up again. What's your thoughts on this? Let me know in the comments section. See you in the next video. Take care.